Admiral James Stone stood at the massive window of Earth's orbital command center, his weathered face reflecting off the reinforced glass. The stars looked different today, somehow more ominous than usual. His gray eyes narrowed as he watched the holographic display, showing hundreds of unknown ships approaching the outer edges of the solar system. "Sir, we've confirmed the signatures. It's the Galactic Empire's fleet," reported Captain Mary Reed, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "They're maintaining position just beyond Pluto's orbit." Stone nodded slowly, his mind racing through the defense protocols Earth had developed over the past 2 centuries of isolation. "How many ships?" 327. "Admiral, most appear to be diplomatic vessels, but we've detected weapon signatures on at least 40% of them." The Admiral turned away from the window, walking to the central command table where a detailed hologram of the solar system sparkled in the air. Small red dots marked each Imperial ship, forming a massive cloud at the edge of their territory. "They said they'd never return," Stone muttered, remembering the stories his grandfather had told him. 200 years ago, Earth had made its position clear. No external interference would be tolerated. The planet had sealed itself off from galactic politics, focusing instead on developing its own path forward. The command center's doors slid open with a soft hiss. Robert Sharp, the head of Earth's Global Council, walked in with quick, purposeful strides. His simple black uniform, adorned only with Earth's new symbol, a shield surrounding the planet, spoke of the practical nature humanity had adopted. "Admiral, we've received a transmission from their flagship," Sharp announced, his voice echoing in the quiet room. "They're requesting permission to enter our space." Stone exchanged knowing looks with Captain Reed. This was exactly what their ancestors had warned about. The Empire never simply requested anything. Their requests were always demands wrapped in diplomatic courtesy. "Display the message," Stone ordered, and a holographic solar system was replaced by the transmission text. The message was simple enough. "To the leaders of Earth, the Galactic Empire extends greetings and requests safe passage into your territory for diplomatic purposes. The galaxy has changed. It is time for Earth to rejoin the galactic community." Sharp let out a short, humorless laugh. "Rejoin? We never joined them in the first place." "Sir," Captain Reed interrupted, her fingers dancing over her control panel. "Our deep space sensors are picking up more ships. They're hiding behind Pluto's moon. Combat vessels, heavy class." Stone's jaw tightened. Of course, the Empire would bring backup. They never did understand Earth's stance. While they focused on expansion and control, Earth had turned inward, developing technologies they couldn't even imagine. "Call the Council," Stone ordered. "Full emergency session. And activate Defense Protocol 0. Throughout the solar system, hidden satellites and defense platforms hummed to life. Earth had spent centuries preparing for this moment. Their isolation hadn't been about fear. It had been about progress. While the Empire spread itself thin across thousands of worlds, Earth had focused on perfecting its defensive capabilities. "Sir," Reed called out again, "they're launching smaller vessels. Looks like they're testing our borders." Stone walked back to the window, watching as distant flashes of light marked the activation of Earth's first line of defense. The gravity web, invisible to the naked eye but more powerful than any weapon, was now online. "Send them our response," he commanded. Standard format. On every Imperial ship's communication screen, the same message appeared. "Notai C. You are approaching Earth's sovereign space. Entry is forbidden. Violation of this notice will be met with appropriate defensive measures. This is your only warning." In the command center, Stone watched the Imperial ship's reactions. They had no idea what they were facing. Earth wasn't the same planet they'd tried to influence centuries ago. They'd grown, developed, and most importantly, learned to stand alone. "And now," Stone murmured, "we show them why we chose isolation." The game was about to begin, and Earth held all the cards. Lord Grey stood on the bridge of the Imperial flagship, Star Sovereign, his tall frame casting a long shadow across the polished floor. His dark uniform, decorated with the Empire's golden insignia, reflected the soft blue light from Earth, visible as a small dot in the distance. "These humans are either brave or foolish," he said to his second-in-command, Captain Pete Mills. "No one has ever denied the Empire entry. Not in the last 1,000 years." Mills studied the tactical display showing Earth's defense network. Something was different about these readings. The usual detection systems couldn't make sense of Earth's technology. It was as if they were looking at a puzzle with missing pieces. "My lord, the small craft we sent to test their borders. They've all lost power. No damage, just dead in space." Lord Grey's eyes narrowed. This wasn't supposed to happen. The Empire's ships were the most advanced in the known galaxy, or at least they were supposed to be. "Open a direct channel to their command," he ordered. It's time they understood their position. In Earth's orbital command center, Admiral Stone watched as the Imperial transmission came through. The holographic image of Lord Grey appeared before them, his expression stern and confident. "People of Earth," Lord Grey began, his voice carrying the weight of Imperial authority. "Your isolation has gone on long enough. The Empire requires your world's participation in galactic affairs. Your technology, your resources, they belong to all sentient beings. Join us willingly, and you'll be granted a seat on the Imperial Council." Stone stepped forward, his response ready. "Ambassador, Earth made its position clear 2 centuries ago. We choose to remain independent. Your empire has no authority here." Lord Grey's face darkened. "Perhaps you don't understand. This isn't a request. The Empire has brought peace and order to 10,000 worlds. Earth cannot stand alone forever." "We're not standing alone," Stone replied calmly. "We're standing apart. There's a difference." The Imperial ambassador's patience visibly thinned. "Your weapons are no match for our fleet. Your defenses cannot possibly." "Ambassador," Stone interrupted, "look at your scout ships, the ones you sent to test us. Notice how easily we disabled them. That was just one of our minor defense systems." In the background, Captain Reed's console lit up with new warnings. "Sir, they're powering up weapons on their main vessels." Lord Grey's hologram smiled coldly. "A simple trick with their power systems won't save you. This is your final chance. Submit to Imperial authority, or face the consequences." Stone walked closer to the hologram, his voice firm but calm. "Let me tell you what Earth has been doing during our isolation, Ambassador. While you were busy spreading your empire thin across the stars, we focused on perfecting our world, our technology, our defenses. We don't need your empire. We don't want your empire. And most importantly, we don't fear your empire." "You dare," Lord Grey began, but Stone cut him off again. "You have 1 hour to retreat beyond Pluto's orbit. After that, we will consider any Imperial ship in our space a threat. And believe me, Ambassador, you don't want to be a threat to Earth." The transmission ended, leaving the command center in tense silence. Captain Reed looked up from her station. "Sir, they're moving their combat vessels forward. Looks like they're preparing for an attack formation." Stone nodded, as if he'd expected this all along. "Activate the gravity nets. Full power. Let's show them what 200 years of isolation has taught us about defense." Throughout the solar system, invisible fields of energy began to pulse. Earth's real power was about to be revealed, and the Empire was about to learn why some worlds were better left alone. "And now," Stone said quietly, "we show them why Earth banned the Empire in the first place." The next move belonged to the Empire, but Earth held powers they couldn't begin to understand. The real test was about to begin. The Imperial fleet moved forward like a swarm of angry wasps, their ships' engines glowing bright against the darkness of space. Lord Grey watched from his command chair, a smile playing at the corners of his mouth. No planetary defense had ever withstood a full Imperial assault. "All ships in attack formation," Captain Mills reported, "ready to break through their defense line." "Begin the attack," Lord Grey ordered. "Show these isolationists the true power of the Empire." The first wave of Imperial ships surged forward, their weapons charging. But as they crossed the invisible line marking Earth's territory, something strange happened. The ships began to slow, their engines struggling against an unseen force. In Earth's orbital command center, Admiral Stone watched calmly as the Empire's ships encountered their gravity web. Captain Reed's fingers danced across her control panel, adjusting the defensive field's strength. "Gravity web at full power," she reported. "Their ships are caught in the field." The Imperial ships hung in space, trapped like insects in amber. Their engines flared brightly as they tried to break free, but Earth's gravity technology held them firmly in place. Lord Grey's confident smile vanished. "What is this trickery? Full power to the engines. Break through their defenses." But the more power the Imperial ships used, the stronger the gravity field became, using their own energy against them. Stone watched as the Empire's mighty fleet struggled helplessly against Earth's defensive technology. "Sir," Captain Reed called out, "they're trying to fire their weapons." Stone nodded. "Activate the reflector shields." The Imperial ships launched their most powerful weapons, energy beams streaking through space toward Earth. But as the beams hit Earth's defensive screen, something remarkable happened. The attacks bent and twisted, caught in the gravity fields, before being redirected back at the Imperial fleet. Lord Grey watched in horror as his own weapons fire boomeranged back toward his ships. "Impossible. Our sensors showed no such technology." In the command center, Stone allowed himself a small smile. "Send in the drones." From hidden bases across the solar system, Earth's automated defense drones emerge. Small, fast, and incredibly advanced, they moved through the gravity web like fish through water, completely unaffected by the fields that held the Imperial ships immobile. "What are those things?" Lord Grey demanded as the drones approached his fleet. "Why can't we target them?" The drones began their work, attaching themselves to Imperial ships and systematically shutting down their weapons and engines. No destruction, no casualties, just complete disable. "My lord," Captain Mills reported, panic in his voice, "we've lost power to 30% of the fleet. Whatever these devices are, they're shutting us down completely." Stone watched the tactical display as more and more Imperial ships went dark. "Send the message," he ordered. Across every functioning Imperial ship, screens lit up with Earth's transmission. "This is your final warning. Your ships will be released and allowed to retreat. Return to Empire space. Earth is forbidden to you." Lord Grey stood from his command chair, fury evident on his face. "No world has ever defeated an Imperial fleet. This is impossible." "Sir," Mills interrupted, "we've lost power to 60% of our ships. The drones, they're still coming." In Earth's command center, Council Leader Sharp joined Stone at the tactical display. "Quite a demonstration, Admiral." "The Empire needed to understand," Stone replied. "We didn't isolate ourselves out of fear. We did it because we chose a different path." They watched as the remaining Imperial ships, those still with power, began to retreat. The message was clear. Earth wasn't just capable of defending itself, it was far beyond anything the Empire had expected. "Deactivate the gravity web," Stone ordered. "Let them limp home. Let them tell others what happened here." As the Imperial fleet retreated, Stone knew this was just the beginning. The Empire would be back, but Earth would be ready. They had shown only a fraction of their true capabilities, and the galaxy was about to learn why Earth's isolation had been the Empire's biggest mistake. 1 week after the battle, Ambassador Tom Wells sat in his office beneath the Rocky Mountains, watching streams of data flow across multiple screens. The Empire had launched its response, not with ships this time, but with words. "Look at this propaganda," he said to Admiral Stone, who stood nearby watching the feeds. "They're calling us dangerous isolationists who have developed illegal weapons." On the main screen, an Imperial news broadcast showed edited footage of their fleet's retreat. They had carefully removed all signs of Earth's defensive technology, making it appear as if their ships had been attacked without provocation. "The Empire fears what it cannot control," Stone replied, his eyes scanning the various broadcasts. "And they certainly can't control us." Wells nodded, then pressed a button on his desk. A new hologram appeared, showing hundreds of messages from various worlds across the galaxy. "But they made a mistake, Admiral. They'd broadcast their lies too widely. Now everyone wants to know what really happened." In his flagship, now safely docked at the Imperial capital, Lord Grey watched similar feeds with growing frustration. "How are they doing this?" he demanded. His communication officer looked nervous. "Sir, Earth is broadcasting real footage of the battle. They're showing how their defensive systems worked, how they disabled our ships without casualties. The outer worlds, they're sharing the broadcasts everywhere." Grey slammed his fist on his armrest. "Block the transmissions." "We can't, sir. They're using some kind of quantum communication network. It bypasses all our communication controls." Meanwhile, in a secret meeting room on Earth, Wells met with digital representatives from 30 independent worlds. Their holograms filled the chamber, each one representing a civilization that had begun questioning Imperial rule. "What you saw was only our first layer of defense," Wells explained to the gathered representatives. "Earth chose isolation not out of fear, but to develop a different way of living, a way that doesn't require domination of others." A representative from a distant mining world spoke up. "The Empire claims they bring peace and order, but we've seen how they treat worlds that resist." Wells smiled. "Then let me show you something." He activated another hologram, this one showing historical records of Imperial conquests. "We've been watching, recording, gathering evidence of everything they've done." Across the galaxy, Earth's broadcasts continued. They showed not just the recent battle, but years of Imperial oppression, worlds that had been stripped of resources, species that had been enslaved in all but name. The truth, hidden behind centuries of Imperial propaganda, began to emerge. In the orbital command center, Captain Reed monitored the growing information war. "Sir," she reported to Stone, "we're detecting Imperial ships moving towards several outer worlds. They're trying to shut down the broadcast centers." Stone's expression remained calm. "Deploy the communication satellites. Let's make sure everyone keeps hearing the truth." Small, stealthy ships slipped out of Earth's space, carrying advanced communication devices. Like seeds scattered in the wind, they spread across the galaxy, ensuring that Earth's message couldn't be silenced. Lord Grey received the reports with growing dread. "They're not just fighting us. They're turning the whole galaxy against us." Back on Earth, Wells prepared for another round of diplomatic meetings. "The Empire thought they could isolate us," he told Stone. "Instead, they gave us time to perfect not just our defenses, but our ability to share information. Knowledge is spreading faster than their ships can travel." Stone looked out at the stars through the reinforced window. "They'll try something desperate soon. When lies fail, the Empire always turns back to force." "Let them try," Wells replied confidently. "The galaxy is watching now. Every move they make against us only proves what we've been broadcasting. Their greatest weapon was always fear, and we've just shown everyone that the Empire can be resisted." The information war was turning the tide, but both men knew the real battle was still to come. The Empire wouldn't accept defeat easily, and Earth needed to be ready for their next move. The Empire struck at dawn, Earth time. This time, they didn't send hundreds of ships. They sent thousands. The massive fleet darkened space like a storm cloud, stretching from Mars to Jupiter. Admiral Stone stood calmly in the command center, watching the incoming armada. "They'd brought their entire central fleet," he noted, "just as we expected." 5,000 ships detected, Captain Reed reported, her fingers moving across her control panel. "They're using a new formation we haven't seen before." In his new flagship, Lord Grey felt confident. They may have clever defenses, but nothing can stand against the full might of the Imperial fleet. Begin the attack sequence. The Imperial ships split into three massive groups. The first group launched millions of small fighter drones. The second prepared their heavy weapons. The third held back, ready to exploit any weakness they might find. Stone watched the tactical display without showing any concern. Activate the planetary shield. Full spectrum. Around Earth, thousands of hidden satellites activated simultaneously. A soft blue glow began to spread, forming a massive energy barrier around the planet. The shield expanded outward, growing larger and stronger with each passing second. "My lord," an Imperial officer called out, "we're detecting an energy field unlike anything in our records." Lord Grey leaned forward in his command chair. "Impossible. No planetary shield can stop our combined fleet. Launch all fighters. Fire all weapons." The space between Earth and the Imperial fleet lit up like a new sun. Millions of energy beams, missiles, and fighter craft streaked toward the blue shield. The Empire's attack was massive enough to destroy a dozen worlds. But when the attacks hit Earth's shield, something unexpected happened. The energy weapons didn't explode or disperse. They vanished. The missiles disappeared without a trace. The fighter drones simply stopped working. "Status report," Lord Grey demanded. "Sir, the shield. It's not just blocking our attacks. It's absorbing them. And it's growing stronger." In Earth's command center, Captain Reed smiled at her readings. "Shield strength increasing. Their attacks are actually powering our defenses." Stone nodded. "Activate the countermeasure system." The blue shield suddenly pulsed with bright light. From its surface, thousands of energy beams shot out, each one precisely targeting the Empire's ships. But these weren't normal weapons. When the beams hit their targets, the Imperial ships simply shut down. "We're losing power." The panic in the Imperial officers' voices was clear. "Entire squadrons are going dark." Lord Grey watched in horror as his mighty fleet was systematically disabled. How? How can they have this kind of technology? The answer came from Admiral Stone himself, broadcast across all Imperial channels. 200 years of peace, 200 years of research, 200 years of preparing for this very day. This is why we banned you from Earth's space. More Imperial ships went dark. Those that tried to retreat found their engines wouldn't respond. The entire fleet hung helpless in space, their weapons silent, their power gone. "Send in the containment ships," Stone ordered. From behind Mars, Earth's special containment fleet emerged. These ships were different, sleek, advanced, unlike anything the Empire had ever seen. They moved through space with impossible grace, attaching themselves to the disabled Imperial ships. "Sir," Captain Reed reported, "we've contained 80% of their fleet. No casualties on either side." Stone allowed himself a small smile. "Send the final message." Every screen on every Imperial ship lit up with Earth's transmission. "Your fleet is disabled. Your ships are contained. You will be escorted back to Imperial space. This is not a negotiation. Earth's space is forbidden to you. Any future incursion will be met with the same result." Lord Grey slumped in his chair as his mighty flagship was towed away by Earth's containment ships. The Empire's greatest fleet had been defeated without a single shot fired in anger, without a single life lost. The message was clear. Earth hadn't banned the Empire out of weakness. They had banned them because they had surpassed them in every way that mattered. News of Earth's victory spread across the galaxy like wildfire. On the mining world of Blue Stone, workers gathered in underground chambers, watching repeated broadcasts of the Imperial fleet's defeat. In the trading hubs of the Star Lines, merchants whispered about Earth's defensive technology. And in the Imperial Palace itself, worried officials held emergency meetings. Ambassador Wells stood before the Global Council on Earth, presenting the latest reports. 3 more systems declared independence this morning. The Empire's grip is weakening. Council leader Sharp studied the holographic map showing the changing political landscape of the galaxy. Red dots marking Imperial-controlled worlds were rapidly turning green as more planets broke away. "And what of our defensive technology sharing program?" Sharp asked. "The first phase is complete," Wells replied. 20 independent worlds now have basic shield generators. They're already using them to protect themselves from Imperial retaliation. In a distant star system, an Imperial battle group approached a former mining colony that had declared independence. The commander smiled as he prepared to teach these rebels a lesson. But his smile vanished when his ships encountered a familiar blue shield surrounding the planet. "Sir," his sensor officer reported, "it's the same type of shield Earth used. We can't penetrate it." Back on Earth, Admiral Stone watched similar scenes playing out across the galaxy. "The Empire's learning a hard lesson," he said to Captain Reed. "Their weapons don't work anymore." "Admiral," Reed called out, checking her displays, "we're receiving a priority transmission from the Free Worlds Alliance. They're requesting immediate assistance. Imperial forces are gathering near their borders." Stone nodded. "Deploy the defense satellites. Standard package. Let's give them the same protection we used here." Earth's transport ships moved quickly through space, carrying defensive technology to newly independent worlds. Each delivery weakened the Empire's ability to maintain control through force. Their greatest weapon had always been fear, and that fear was vanishing. Ambassador Wells met with the Alliance representatives again, this time in person on a neutral space station. The chamber was filled with leaders from worlds that had never dared to resist the Empire before. "Earth doesn't seek to replace the Empire," Wells explained to the gathered delegates. "We're offering you the means to protect yourselves, to choose your own path, just as we did." A representative from a former Imperial core world stood up. "But what's to stop these weapons from being used for conquest? How do we prevent another empire from rising?" Wells smiled. "The technology we're sharing is purely defensive. It can protect, but it cannot attack. That was a deliberate choice we made centuries ago." In the Imperial Palace, Lord Grey faced harsh questioning from the Imperial Council. "How could you lose the entire Central Fleet?" one counselor demanded. "You don't understand," Grey replied, his voice shaking. "Their technology, it's beyond anything we've ever seen. And now they're sharing it with everyone we've ever oppressed." The council chamber erupted in angry shouts, but they were interrupted by urgent news. Another sector had declared independence, protected by Earth's shields. Meanwhile, in Earth's orbital command center, Stone and Reed monitored the rapidly changing situation. "Sir," Reed reported, "Imperial forces are retreating from 30 different systems. They know they can't fight against our defensive technology. And the new alliance, growing stronger every day. More worlds are joining, now that they know they can't be conquered." Stone looked out at the stars, thinking about how much had changed. "We never wanted to rule the galaxy," he said quietly. "We just wanted to show them a better way." The rebellion was spreading, but it wasn't like any rebellion in history. There were no great battles, no massive casualties. Instead, world after world simply stood up and said no to the Empire, protected by shields that could not be broken, defending their freedom with technology that could not be turned into weapons. 6 months after Earth's decisive victory, the galaxy had changed beyond recognition. The Imperial Palace, once the center of absolute power, now stood quiet and largely empty. In its Grand Council chamber, the remaining Imperial officials gathered for an unprecedented ceremony. Lord Grey, now acting as the Empire's chief negotiator, stood before representatives from Earth and the Free Worlds Alliance. His once proud uniform had been replaced by simple diplomatic attire. "The Empire," he announced, his voice echoing in the chamber, "formally recognizes the independence of all worlds seeking self-governance. Our era of expansion is over." Ambassador Wells sat calmly at the negotiating table, remembering how different things had been just months ago. Next to him, Admiral Stone watched the proceedings with careful attention. "And the military restrictions?" Wells asked. "Accepted," Grey replied. "The Imperial fleet will be reduced to defensive operations only. All conquest-capable ships will be decommissioned. In Earth's orbital command center, Captain Reed monitored the ceremony while tracking the movements of former Imperial ships across the galaxy. On her screens, she could see hundreds of vessels being transformed into peaceful trading craft. The shield network is complete, she reported to Council Leader Sharp. Every independent world now has full defensive coverage. Sharp nodded, studying the new map of the galaxy. The old Imperial borders have been replaced by a network of sovereign systems, each protected by Earth's defensive technology. And the Sovereign Space Treaty. 142 worlds have signed already, Reed replied. More join every day. The treaty was Earth's masterpiece, a document that guaranteed the independence of every world while ensuring that defensive technology could never be converted for aggressive purposes. It was the foundation of the new galactic order. In the Imperial Palace, Wells stood to address the gathered representatives. Earth's isolation taught us something valuable, he said. True strength lies not in the ability to conquer, but in the power to protect, to stand firm, to choose your own path. The chamber, once a place of imperial decrees, now buzzed with the voices of free worlds discussing trade agreements and cultural exchanges. Lord Grey watched with a mixture of resignation and wonder. We never understood, he said quietly to Stone. All those centuries, we thought Earth was weak because it stood alone. We never realized you were building something greater than an empire. Stone smiled slightly. Sometimes the best way to lead is to show others they don't need to be led. Back on Earth, the Global Council gathered for its own historic session. The main screen showed dozens of new trading ships entering the solar system, the first authorized visitors in centuries. Are we ready to rejoin the galaxy? Sharp asked his fellow council members. On our own terms, Stone replied. Earth's space remains restricted. We'll open specific ports for trade and diplomatic exchange, but our core territories stay protected. We haven't forgotten why we chose isolation in the first place. Across the galaxy, the changes continued. Former Imperial worlds developed their own cultures, free from outside control. The defensive shields that protected them became symbols of sovereignty rather than weapons of war. In orbit above Earth, Captain Reed watched a group of diplomatic ships approach the new trading station. It's strange, she said to Stone, who had joined her on observation duty. We won without conquering anyone. We changed the galaxy by showing them how to protect themselves. Stone nodded, looking out at the stars that now represented possibility rather than threat. That's the real victory, he said. We didn't just ban the Empire from Earth. We showed the galaxy how to ban the very idea of empire itself. The final Imperial ships departed Earth's space, leaving behind a galaxy transformed. Earth had chosen isolation centuries ago not out of fear, but to develop a better way. Now that way had spread across the stars, creating a new age of independence and peace. The Empire was gone, and in its place stood something far stronger. A galaxy of free worlds, each standing proud and independent, yet united in their commitment to peace. Earth's ban had become a gateway to freedom for all.